I uncovered a haunting artifact in space. You won't believe what happened at 3 a.m. The clock struck 3. In the vast void of the cosmos, a chilling silence blanketed everything. And yet, amid the darkness, an eerie glow pulsed from the surface of a hidden asteroid, revealing secrets long thought buried. This was no ordinary rock, it was a time capsule, sending shivers down the spine of anyone who dared to approach it. Legend spoke of whispers in the void, echoing through the ages, and this was the moment the universe decided to spill its secrets. Heart pounding like a war drum, Sam lowered the rover, ready to unearth history. As he stepped onto the rough, gray surface, he felt an unsettling vibration beneath his feet, as if the asteroid itself was alive. The dust swirled and danced around him, almost as if beckoning him closer to this artifact. It gleamed, half buried in the cosmic rubble, an odd shimmer that seemed to shimmer with every heartbeat. What would it reveal? What had transpired here, hidden away from humanity's gaze? Whatever's on this rock, it's big, Sam whispered, his breath hitching in his throat. The last crew that ventured this far didn't return. The memory of their abandoned ship hung like a ghost in the air, and the thought of slipping into that fate tightened his chest. He stepped closer, hands trembling, reaching towards its surface, a sense of impending doom creeping in. Then there it was, a faint, haunting melody, almost like a siren's call. No, this wasn't music, not in the usual sense. It was a resonating hum, vibrating through the air as if the very fabric of space was singing about old tragedies and lost loves. Compelled by curiosity, he took a breath, preparing to brush the dust away. Suddenly, his radio crackled to life, a static-laden voice cutting through the calm. Sam. Get out of there. It's not safe. Panic surged as he spun around, but the connection flickered, cutting off before he could respond. Hey, before we continue with this amazing story, I need to give you an important heads up. Many subscribers have reported that YouTube unsubscribed them without warning. Take a quick second to check the red button below to make sure you're still subscribed to the channel. I'd hate for you to miss any of the exclusive content coming soon. And while you're there, smash that like button, it really helps me out with the algorithm. Oh, and tell me in the comments, which city are you watching from? I love getting to know every amazing person who's part of this community. Your participation makes all the difference. Let's connect. Back at the artifact, Sam felt dread crawl up his spine. The hum grew louder, almost insistent. Step by step, he edged closer, heart racing. Each approach felt like the universe itself was holding its breath. What kind of power lay buried in this shadowy relic? The surface was ancient, etched with symbols that twisted and turned like thoughts in a frantic mind. He hesitated, wanting to turn back, but could he really? Something about it called to him. With a firm grip, he brushed away the centuries of dust, and then it happened. A blinding light erupted, and Sam stumbled back, hands shielding his eyes from the onslaught. The asteroid trembled, the melody deepening into a chorus of anguished cries, swirling around him like a storm. Had he unleashed something primal? Something best left undisturbed? Was this a key to the darkness, or was he merely making everything far worse? Questions exploded in his mind as he braced against the chaos. The universe had opened a door. Now, what awaited him on the other side? The blinding light receded, unveiling a scene that froze Sam in place. Shadows twisted and flickered, forming shapes that seemed to whisper his name. His heart hammered while the atmosphere thickened around him. Had he unearthed an alien presence? Just as the song of anguish reached a fever pitch, everything stopped. Sam's breath hitched, the silence felt deafening. He blinked against the residual brightness. The artifact pulsed softly now, almost rhythmically, like a heartbeat. It beckoned, as if it had awakened after eons of slumber, ready to share its secrets. Stay calm, stay focused, he muttered to himself. This was the moment he had trained for, the one that could put him in the history books. Yet, every instinct screamed to run. The ground vibrated beneath him, growing more intense, each thrum sending tremors up his legs. Then came the whispers. Not the ethereal melody of before, but distinct voices, emerging like specters from the shadows. "Help us," they pleaded, an anguished tone that sliced through the tension. Sam stumbled backward, the weight of fear pressing down on him. "Who's there?" he shouted, his voice shaky, a faint echo of bravery against the cosmic void. "We are the lost," one voice drifted closer, wreathed in sorrow. "Trapped in the remnants of time. You have the means to set us free." Nausea curled in his stomach. Set them free? What did that even mean? Why should I trust you? Panic flooded his thoughts. Every horror movie he had ever watched flashed across his mind, the ghostly figures whispering doom. "You long for knowledge. You seek the truth. Do it or be consumed," just like the others the ultimatum stung, a threat lurking behind their melodic plea. Sam's gut twisted. The ones who came before had vanished without a trace. Could he really risk it? At that moment, the artifact surged with light, illuminating the entire asteroid with an otherworldly glow. The symbols on its surface began to shift, coalescing into images that danced before his eyes, epochs of ancient civilizations, long-lost galaxies, and glimpses of a cosmic cataclysm. Sam felt drawn to these visions, awareness expanding like ripples through a pond. His breathing quickened. Each flash showed him a truth he could barely understand but instinctively felt connected to. "You cannot ignore it," he heard again, the voices echoing like fading stars. "Unlock our fate." Fingers trembling, Sam reached out once more, drawn closer to the pulsating core of the artifact. Was this the moment his destiny awaited, or a trap laid by something far beyond his understanding? As his hand connected with the surface, a jolt of energy surged through him. Memories not his own cascaded into his mind, flooding him with sensations, loss, fear, a yearning for release. He gasped, stumbling backward as visions erupted, leaving him dazed. What had he unleashed? The artifact hummed low, almost sad now, wrapping him in a shroud of unease. Sam knew he had crossed a line, but how could he back away? The shadows moved closer, encroaching on his vision like dark waves threatening to engulf him. What had he tapped into? The whispers returned, a chorus rising above the hum. "Will you choose knowledge, or will you seal your fate?" His pulse quickened. Time seemed to crystallize as he stood between two worlds, the known past and an unknowable future. Would he heed their call, or would he turn his back? A memory echoed in the void. The moment had come. The tension stretched tightly, and Sam gasped, the choice looming larger than the cosmos itself. What would he decide when the truth unveiled its jaw? Sam's mind raced, thoughts colliding like meteors in the vast emptiness surrounding him. The very fabric of reality felt thin, as if he were standing on the edge of a chasm that led to infinite possibilities, each one darker than the last. He could feel the whispers wrap around him, tightening like a noose. "Do you want to know the truth?" The voices persisted, rising and falling in a mournful cadence. "Shut up!" he yelled, clenching his fists. What were they? Why did they choose him? With every heartbeat, the pulsating artifact seemed to resonate deep within him, as if it were a part of him now. In front of him, the shadows danced like flickering flames, their forms twisting into terrifying shapes that made his skin prickle. He took a step back, dread pooling in the pit of his stomach. I can't help you." The admission left his lips like a confession. "You can," the voices replied, soothing and sinister all at once. "But only if you wish to unravel the truths of your existence. If you turn away, the darkness will consume you too." The ground beneath him began to shudder violently, the vibrations escalating into a chaotic roar. Sam struggled to maintain his footing, his heart racing like a frantic drum. The shadows surged forward, merging into a singular shape that rose above him, a figure cloaked in darkness, its presence oppressive. "Are you so afraid?" it hissed, an icy wind tracing his spine. He swallowed hard, his throat dry. "Knowledge is power, Sam." The figure leaned closer, and he saw glimpses of tortured faces within its silhouette. Embrace it. You are the key. Against his instincts, Sam felt a surge of determination blazing in his chest. What if the whispers were right? What if he could learn things no one else had ever known? Taking a deep breath, he stepped forward, drawn back to the artifact that seemed to vibrate with anticipation. The haunting visions continued to swirl in his mind: cosmic wars, the rise and fall of civilizations, a truth that sent ripples coursing through the very essence of reality. Tell me, he demanded, voice steadier now. What do you want me to do? A glimmer flashed in the darkness, and the spectre smiled, a gesture that felt so wrong, yet oddly comforting. Free us and learn. Sam's fingers brushed against the artifact once more. The pulse quickened beneath his touch, a frantic rhythm that synchronized with his racing heart. What will happen if I do? An awakening. Before he could reconsider, he pressed his hand deeper into the surface, the energy enveloping him. The shadows closed in, swirling around him until the world vanished, replaced by an intense white light. Suddenly, Sam found himself standing in a vast library, ancient and magnificent beyond anything he had ever seen. Books lined the towering shelves, some glowing, others dark and withered. A sense of weighty knowledge hung heavily in the air, whispers echoing with secrets long hidden. Choose wisely, the spectre's voice murmured again, cascading through the space. His heart thudded as he surveyed the endless rows of knowledge. Could he handle what lay ahead? Was he prepared to confront the truths that could shatter his very understanding of existence? Trembling, he extended a cautious hand toward a glowing tome that shimmered like a star, intuitive and inviting. But just as his fingers brushed against the cover, an ear-splitting scream erupted through the library, jolting him back. The shadows converged again, more frantic this time, and the air turned thick with chaos. Sam! You must choose. Or risk losing everything. The artifact's energy surged, flooding him with visions of looming chaos, dark entities moving toward him, their intentions clearly malevolent. Each one promised power, but at what cost? Gathering the last shreds of his resolve, Sam stood poised at a crossroads. What path would he take when the truth came rushing back for him? The room around him darkened, the screams growing more desperate, and he knew he had only moments left to decide. Panic surged through Sam as the shadows shrieked and battered against his resolve. He could feel their desperation, their anger. The time for indecision had vanished, and before him lay two distinct choices: the glowing tome, radiant and calming, or the ancient, crumbling book cloaked in darkness, radiating a cold dread. Choose. Sam. The voice of the spectre warped around him, echoing with urgency. The shadows grew thicker, swirling ominously like a tempest. He glanced at the glowing book, the warmth it emitted promising answers and perhaps some relief. But something deep inside warned him it was too comforting. The darker book beckoned, too, it whispered of hidden powers and secrets that could unleash something beyond comprehension. Biting his lip, he pressed his hand against the glowing tome, feeling a strange resonance pulse through him. It was as if the book reacted to his touch, urging him to dive deeper into its wisdom. This decision felt right. But was it really? Suddenly, the spectre's shadow recoiled, twisting and boiling with rage. Fool! It hissed. You've chosen the soft path. Sacrifice will lead to revelation. Before Sam could withdraw, a blinding light erupted from the tome, engulfing him entirely. Within the radiance, he floated, weightless and vulnerable. Visions flooded his mind, cities ablaze, creatures of pure darkness consuming everything in their wake. Hope faltered under the pressure of reality. But then, amid the chaos, a single image stood out. It was himself, standing tall, bathed in a dual glow of the light and dark. You can't escape, whispered the voices, intertwining like a serpent. Every choice defines your fate. Then let this be my choice. He shouted, feeling the energy spike with his words. The light pulsed warmer. The shadows clamored, shrieking in fear, shrinking like moths in the face of a flame. Just then, Sam's hand slipped, and the tome cascaded from his grip, vanishing into the light. A primal scream echoed through the abyss, and the shadows recoiled as if repelled by an unseen force. Heart racing, Sam surveyed his surroundings. The library was collapsing, books exploding into dust, the world crumbling around him. Struggling to keep his footing, he scanned the debris for another book, any other book. The darkness coiled dangerously around him, whispering promises of power and knowledge in exchange for his true essence. Sam. Focus. The specter's voice cut through the chaos. Your choice is not just about knowledge, it's your very soul. That triggered something deep within him. He wasn't merely here to choose, he was here to fight. Pushing against the torrent of darkness, he recalled the fleeting glimpses of that glowing tome. If it shone brighter than the void around him, maybe it had a secret embedded within it. With a surge of defiance, Sam reached out into the fray, willing the light to manifest again. I choose truth, not blind power. He yelled, the resolve turning into an incantation. The light reappeared, slicing through the shadows like a knife through fog. And in that instant, the dark figure shrieked, withdrawing as the brilliance embraced him. Sam's heart thundered as a new vision unfolded. Were those the faces of the tortured souls he had glimpsed earlier, freed and smiling? Yet, just as hope sparked within him, shadows erupted violently, a final onslaught of chaos erupting from the depths. The last vestiges of the library crumbled apart, and Sam felt himself sinking into an abyss of darkness, the echoes of truth and ignorance battling around him. Will you emerge victorious, or will you drown in despair? The spectre taunted, its voice fading as he plummeted deeper. The question pierced the air, hanging heavily like a noose. What awaited him in that dizzying fall? Was the truth he sought even worth the risk? The descent felt endless, a thrilling plunge into an abyss of uncertainty. Sam's mind raced as he spun through the dark void, thoughts colliding like meteorites. Was he really ready to face the truth? The visages of the freed souls echoed in his memory, urging him to cling to hope. Suddenly, he hit something solid, not ground but an enormous book, its cover embossed with intricate designs that shimmered momentarily. As he landed, a jolt of energy coursed through him, awakening senses dulled by fear. The darkness writhed around the book, threatening to obscure its light. Open it! A voice screamed within, a mixture of desperation and clarity. It wasn't the spectre this time, it felt like a piece of the light he had summoned. Summoned by choice, with trembling fingers, he brushed off layers of dust and grime that had bound the cover. In that moment, he felt a connection to the tome, as if it knew him, his hopes, fears, and the weight of the choices he carried. He hesitated, but the shadows roared, swirling harder, urging him to make a move. Do it now. The unseen force whispered that he wrenched the cover open. The pages glowed with energy, words shimmering as they shifted. Ancient spells and incantations writhed before his eyes, unfurling like a trail of smoke. As he read, visions erupted forth, moments from his life flashing by, memories he thought long buried. There were times when he doubted himself. Times he wished for something greater. But always, he had persevered, fought the darkness within, and now, there it was, laid bare in front of him. Each word he absorbed felt like kindling, feeding a fire. The shadows howled, coiling tighter around the book, pulling it away. They craved the light he was calling forth, but he wasn't prepared to surrender. He sensed the power within him magnifying, amplifying. No! Sam shouted defiantly. This is my truth. Not yours. With a surge of belief that overpowered the dread, he recited the first line that echoed from the pages, his voice rising imbued with determination. The air crackled around him as light exploded from within, illuminating the haunting library shadows, revealing their tortured forms. The room spun as the boundaries began to blur. Sam felt their pain merge with his, an anguished testimony of lost hopes and battles. Yet this time, something was different. He felt the forgotten strength in their cries. Sam! You're awakening them. The spectre's voice cracked through the revelation, but it was tinged with fear now, not just anger. "I'm awakening myself," he gasped, caught in a whirlwind of power that thrashed against the still encroaching shadows. They screeched louder, desperate for control, suffocating him in their whispers. In the swell of light, he glimpsed two figures in the very heart of the shadows, both familiar yet lost. They were his parents, faces distorted with pain but potent with hope. A rush of grief washed over him. Their loss had always nagged at him, a festering wound. "Look closer, Sam," they urged, their voices intertwining with the light. "The truth is not just knowledge, it is knowing who you are." With that, the warmth surged brighter, engulfing him as he confronted the memories he had been avoiding. They were not shackles, they were the foundation of his strength. In their eyes, he found resolve, the truth shimmering like a beacon of light, but it wasn't just their strength. He felt it was an awakening, a last stand against the shadows that had threatened to consume everything. As he poured his soul into the spell, something shifted violently, threatening to explode. A bright crack of energy ripped through the darkness surrounding him. "I will break this cycle," he declared, his voice a steady roar. In that moment, chaos reigned as the library quaked, blurring the line between reality and the mystic. Would he harness this awakening, or would the shadows drag him back into despair? The air crackled with anticipation. What awaited him in the swirling extremes? Would his truth truly liberate them, or had he unleashed a force far beyond his control? The light surged, an unstoppable wave crashing against the shadows that had once seemed insurmountable. Sam felt the energy ripple through him, overwhelming his senses, like being caught in a thunderstorm. It was both terrifying and exhilarating, each heartbeat resonating with the pulse of the book. He could hear the whispers again, voices straining, desperate. "Finish it," they cried out, the agony in their tones sharper than any blade. As the shadows writhed and moaned, he gritted his teeth and focused deeper, pulling on every scrap of strength he had ever mustered. The library trembled, books flying from the shelves like birds startled from their nests. Surrounding him was a vortex of ancient knowledge and poignant sorrows. But at the center of it all stood the glowing tome, defying the darkness and calling him lovingly closer. "Let go of your fear," his parents urged, their forms becoming clearer, basked in a newfound brilliance that seemed to blend with the light around him. "Embrace your truth." "Embrace," Sam echoed, the word igniting a spark within. Soon, he was shouting the incantations with unyielding conviction, its ancient syllables pouring forth like a mantra. Each spoken word ignited a flash of memories, good, bad, and every moment in between. He could finally see the intricate tapestry of his life, woven with pain and hope, stitched into the very fabric of his being. The shadows bellowed with fury, their cold touch creeping up his ankles, a desperate attempt to pull him down, to snuff out the light he was conjuring. But Sam fought back with every ounce of tenacity he had, refusing to succumb. The fear that had plagued him for too long pulsed in his veins, transforming into something vibrant, relentless. "Enough. You will not take me," he roared. The library erupted with a blinding brilliance, illuminating every crevice filled with anguish as the shadows began to dissipate. They twisted and howled in a cacophony of despair, a furious storm, but Sam remained resolute, standing tall in the light he had ignited. In the midst of the turmoil, the air shimmered, and the figures of his parents surged closer. "You did it, Sam. You're breaking through." Joy punctuated their cries, their forms finally breaking free from the grip of misery. Hope poured from him, cleansing the sorrow, converting it into a powerful shield against the darkness. But just as the triumphant wave began to wash over him, a sharp pain pierced through his chest, an invisible dagger slicing through his resolve. He faltered, confusion mapping his face. The shadows weren't fully retreating. Something deeper lurked, eager to reclaim its hold over him. "What is happening?" he yelled over the tumult, panic rising as he felt the shadows tugging back like drowning sailors grasping for air. There was an echo of laughter, a chilling sound that sent shivers racing down his spine. "Your truth is but a flicker, Sam," the specter's voice hissed. You think you can defy the cycle? You're merely awakening the deep-rooted fears that fill this realm. The room exploded in chaos again, caught in the tension of his awakening, and Sam's heart raced. Was he merely breathing life into his demons instead of truly facing them? As the shadows coalesced, a single dark figure emerged, towering and ominous, advancing with slow grace. Its eyes burned like embers, penetrating into Sam's very soul. This was no ordinary foe, this was his deepest fear personified, and it approached, ready to engulf him in despair once more. Sam! His parents cried, extending their hands, but he felt the distance between them stretching like an unbridgeable chasm. The shadows surged forward, their guttural whispers coalescing around him, taunting him, face us, or forever remain in darkness. He clutched the book tighter, a flicker of determination igniting in the corners of his heart. Was this the true test of his awakening? Would he embrace the darkness or rise against it? Time slowed as he prepared to confront the embodiment of his fears in one final, defining moment. What choices awaited him at the brink of revelation? Would he walk into light or plunge into shadows? The dark figure loomed closer, its shadow stretching across the floor like an ominous midnight sun. Sam's breath hitched in his throat. He could neither move nor look away as the creature's embers burned brighter, mocking him. He felt small, a child again, lost in a nightmare with no end in sight. "Face me, Sam." It taunted, its voice a guttural blend of whispers and roars, an orchestra of dread that echoed off the library walls. Each syllable twisted like a knife, drawing blood from his rising anxiety. "Are you still running from who you are?" "No. I'm not afraid," Sam shouted, the confidence in his voice a brittle facade flaking away under the weight of its presence. The shadows danced around him, wrapping tightly, close and constricting, as if they knew the truth buried within his heart. Doubt gnawed at the edges of his mind, the tendrils of fear curling around his resolve. "You can break me," he muttered through clenched teeth, "but I won't be taken." Such bravery! Such folly! The darkness roared with laughter, shaking the very foundation of the library. Books tumbled from their homes, pages fluttering in the chaos like ghostly wings. With an unexpected surge of strength, Sam pushed against the pull of the shadows. He could feel his energy waning, his essence flickering like a candle in the wind. Still, at the core of his heart, the fiery echoes of his parents' words rang louder than the shadows' sinister lullabies. "Embrace your truth." He lifted the glowing tome, cradling it to his chest like a shield. The golden light burst forth, casting trails of illumination against the darkness. As it swelled, forming a protective barrier, the shadows writhed violently, hissing in rage. The embodiment of his fear faltered for just a moment, recoiling from the light. That brief crack sent a jolt of hope through Sam, a reminder that light could still repel the darkness. "I have faced my truths," he declared, each word cutting sharper and echoing against the walls. "You are but a reflection of my struggles. You don't own me." As if triggered by his declaration, the air thickened, and the figure lunged forward, its dark claws reaching for him hungrily. "You cannot hide behind illusions. I am what you are." "No!" Sam screamed, his voice reverberating through the chaos. "You don't define me." He recited the incantations with renewed vigor, each phrase binding his memories into shields around him. The golden light pulsed like a heartbeat, filling every crevice with hope. The shadows twisted in agony, their cries piercing and heart-wrenching. Then, in a moment of clarity, he understood. It wasn't just about fighting the darkness. It was about acceptance. He didn't have to banish it, he could incorporate it. Recognizing where he had stumbled, where he had felt inadequate, was the true strength. "Join me," Sam said, extending his free hand toward the darkness, the shadows freezing in disbelief. "You are part of me. Accept my faults, and I will show you my light." The dark figure halted, uncertainty rippling across its face. The air shimmered, and for a heartbeat, quiet settled over the library. Was this an end or a new beginning? Suddenly, a surge of energy shot through him, raw and electric, as if the library itself responded to his revelation. Light and shadow danced in a chaotic embrace, each vying for dominance but no longer at war. Then, without warning, a blinding flash erupted as the two forces collided, darkness fracturing and intertwining with light. Sam felt a powerful tremor beneath him, the very ground shaking as the shadows screamed their last, dissolving into nothingness that he staggered, disoriented, while the remnants of the chaos fizzled around him. In the wake of the explosion, silence blanketed the library, leaving only the rhythmic thump of his heart. In the stillness, Sam looked around, uncertain and bewildered. His parents stood before him, radiant. "You did it, Sam." They cheered, their smiles a beacon of warmth, but deep within him, an unsettling whisper stirred a different kind of fear, slinking back into the shadows, waiting patiently. What if this wasn't the end? What if the darkness never truly faded? As he took a step toward his parents, he felt his grip on the tome easing. A flicker of doubt nagged at him. What have I awakened? He whispered to himself as the ground beneath his feet vibrated ominously. The breeze shifted, carrying an echo of something sinister. The shadows that had retreated now glimmered at the edge of his vision, watching, waiting what new horrors awaited him in the wings of this unraveling tale. The ground trembled like a beast awakening from slumber, sending vibrations through Sam's legs and up into his core. The quiet that followed the explosion felt deceptive, like a tension-filled pause before the storm. He took a hesitant step forward, drawn toward his parents, their smiles radiant, but the discomfort creeping up his spine had no plans to retreat. Behind them, the once familiar library now appeared warped, shadows creeping in from every corner like ink spilled on parchment. The golden light still glowed softly in his hands, yet he could feel it wavering, flickering uncertainly as the atmosphere thickened with dread. "Sam," his mother called, her tone sweet and inviting, but behind the shimmering facade, something felt off. "You have so much power now. Embrace it." But he knew better. The darkness didn't just disperse, it lingered, plotting in the periphery of his vision. The thrill of victory was quickly clashing with the gnawing sensation of lurking despair. What if this is just the beginning? Sam whispered, feeling the tension tighten like a noose around his neck. "Don't speak like that." His father stepped closer, his expression suddenly serious. "You need to stay strong. There's nothing to fear. You've made peace." Peace? The word echoed painfully in his ears. Suddenly, the room's shadows expanded and coiled around his parents, obscuring them. Sam lunged forward, panic clawing at his throat. The golden light flickered wildly, illuminating their faces one moment and plunging them into darkness the next. "Mom! Dad!" he shouted, his voice thick with terror, but their forms began to blur, twisting into shadows swimming before his eyes. Sam's stomach dropped as he realized he was losing them. "No! Get away from them!" Sam's voice cracked with urgency. He swung the tome in front of him, desperate to shield his family from the consuming darkness. The shadows hissed back, their whispers a cacophony of disjointed thoughts and memories that tugged at Sam's mind, threatening to unearth every flaw he had ever tried to bury. "You can't win. You let us in, Sam. You are not free." He stumbled back, the weight of their words crushing him. "I am free," he roared back, shoving the tome forward again, channeling every ounce of his will into the shimmering light. It flared brilliantly, challenging the shadows inching closer, but doubt rippled through his heart. With a deep breath, he focused not just on fighting the shadows but on reclaiming the truth they represented. "I accept you for what you are," he spoke, each word deliberate, confident. "You are a part of my journey." A tense quiet fell. The shadows paused, the monstrous forms faltering as if contemplating his acceptance. Then, with a fierce howl, they lunged at him. There was no time to brace for impact. Sam closed his eyes, and in that heartbeat of darkness, he felt a rush like wind rushing over a cliff. When he opened his eyes, he stood amidst chaos, the library had transformed into a swirling vortex of light and shadow. His parents were gone. Sam, a voice whispered softly, fragile yet haunting. He could feel the cool breath of something ancient, like an echo of pain and loss lingering in the air, heavier than ever. You cannot escape fate. Panic surged again, and Sam realized he was alone, spiraling in an abyss where light and darkness were in a relentless tug-of-war. With the fading hope of pulling his parents back, he screamed with all his might, "I will not surrender." That statement hung in the air like a dare. In the next instant, he felt a weightless plunge, the very fabric of reality stretching around him. As he spiraled down into the unknown, laughter rippled around him, deep, ancient, taunting. What awaited him beyond this disturbance of light and shadow? He braced himself, heart pounding, knowing in that fluid moment of descent that a deeper truth was about to unveil. What lay on the other side of acceptance? What new horrors, new truths would he find there? The descent swallowed Sam whole, darkness wrapping around him like an icy shroud. Time seemed suspended, stretching into a void that felt both infinite and suffocating. He gasped for breath, his lungs clutching at air that wasn't there. Then, with a sudden jolt, he crashed into a new reality. Bright lights blinked into existence around him, the flickering neon of a dreadful cityscape, where towering buildings loomed like jagged teeth against an oppressive sky. Shadows writhed in the alleys, closing in, as if the very architecture conspired against him. His heart raced, each thump echoing like a war drum in the cacophony of trapped souls moaning within the depths of these towering structures. What is this place? He thought, panic bubbling as he stumbled through the thick, swirling fog. He reached for the tome, instinctively gripping its spine, hoping for guidance. The golden light shimmered dimly in response, casting a faint glow against the shadows that seemed to throb around him. Sam, the voice called again, echoing through the air, both familiar and chilling. It reverberated in his mind, a haunting reminder of his parents, now lost to him, echoing through this surreal hell. "You have to make a choice," it whispered, swirling in the wind like smoke. "The balance awaits you." A sudden chill crept down his spine. He could hear the faint snickers of the shadows, creatures that lurked in the corners of his vision, undecipherable faces reflected back in the pooled darkness. The laughter sent shivers through him, crawled under his skin. "Make a choice?" he muttered, bewildered. Panic turned to clarity as he felt the weight of the tome sharpen. "What do you want from me?" His voice trembled, the bravado long gone. "Sacrifice," whispered the shadows in a mocking chorus. "Everything comes with a cost. Your journey, your power, your freedom." Chills gripped Sam, his heart thudding as he struggled against the despair creeping in. He clenched his fists, the tome hot against his skin. "What kind of sacrifice?" he shot back, his voice sounding small in this otherworldly chaos. "Everything you hold dear," they spat, their tone dripping with malice. "Or remain imprisoned in this cycle. You cannot escape from your fate, Sam. Embrace it." The city pulsed around him, the buildings seeming to sway in anticipation. Sam staggered, his thoughts spiraling. Was he truly forced to choose between his power and the love of his parents? "No!" he shouted, desperation fueling his defiance. "I won't fall for your tricks. You won't take them from me." But as those words left his lips, the city erupted into chaos. Shadows surged forth, a tide of darkness engulfing him. They swept through the streets, clawing at his mind, grasping at remnants of guilt and fear. Voices whispered his name, wrapping around his psyche like ivy suffocating a tree. "Face it, Sam. Defend what's yours or watch it slip away." The tome's glow flickered, catching the madness enveloping him. In that heartbeat of clarity, he remembered the feeling of hope, even in darkness, a fragile light flickering somewhere deep inside him. "Not today." Sam roared, heart pounding against the rising tide of shadow. He focused that light deep within, willing it to surge forward. As he did, the shadows screamed a sound like thunder mixed with despair. Suddenly, the darkness recoiled, and Sam, engulfed in gold, felt the weight of decisions pressing against him. In that instant of defiance, a distant figure appeared through the haze of chaos, cloaked in shadow yet shimmering with familiar warmth. Sam! You must choose. Who was that? The urgency in the voice lured him forward, and he blinked against the swirling vortex, desperately trying to see. Who are you? He shouted, confused yet compelled. The figure waved a hand, and the shadows thickened, swirling fiercely. You can't linger in indecision. A shattering realization struck him. This was more than just a confrontation with darkness. This was a reckoning. As the figure began to fade, the shadows roiled, inching toward him. Sam felt the ground quake beneath him, and in that moment, he understood. The choice lay right before him, a question of surrender or strength. Would he relinquish everything for the chance to save his parents, or would he find the courage to stand, to change the very fabric of this dark reality for good? The shadows surged once more, engulfing him, and Sam knew time was running out. Sam! It was his mother's voice, distant yet clear through the chaos. Choose wisely. What choice would he make? What consequences awaited him? The tension twisted like a knife, leaving the air thick with uncertainty. There, at the heart of the storm, Sam stood ready to confront his fate. The questions hung heavy. Could he harness the light within, or would darkness claim him forever? The vortex of light and shadow swirled, drawing Sam deeper into the storm of its chaos. Each heartbeat pulsed with both fear and determination. He could almost hear the jagged breaths of the city around him, its streets thrumming with a mocking fury. Choose, the shadows taunted, hissing through the alleys, clawing at his deepest fears. Sam felt cornered, the faint whispers of his parents drowning in the storm. Enough! Sam shouted, pushing back against the shadows. He could feel the tome's warmth against his heart, a reminder that power and love could coexist, even in darkness. I won't allow you to take anything from me. With renewed courage, he focused the golden light within him, visualizing the warmth of his family's love wrapping around him like a protective cocoon. He felt every ounce of doubt dousing him like cold water, threatening to extinguish the fire he had ignited. But the pull of despair no longer held him captive. Having faced his fears, he was ready to reclaim control. The shadows whipped closer, twisting and contorting, their howls resonating through the air. You think you can defy us? This is your reality. They screeched, but Sam's focus sharpened. He began to recite the incantations he had seen, words wrapping around him in a vibrant cocoon of light. Face the truth, he declared, the force behind him gaining momentum. The ground trembled, the weight of impending decisions pressing on his shoulders, yet he felt the energy stir within him. Every word he spoke shaped the light brighter, weaving a tapestry of resilience thick enough to withstand the shadows, and suddenly, there it was, the figure that had haunted him through every decision stood before him once more, cloaked in the remains of darkness yet illuminated by a soft glow. Sam! It urged, its voice echoing with urgency. You stand at the crossroads of fate. Who are you? Sam shouted, the murmur of confusion melting into comprehension. He could recognize the contours of loss wrapped in this shadowy visage. You're a part of my fear, he whispered, the realization striking through the haze. You're not my enemy. You need to realize it's all intertwined, the light, the dark, the choices, it urged, stretching a shadowy hand toward him. You can merge the two, it's your journey that defines the balance. Merge? Sam echoed. A flicker of hope ignited. The warmth from the tome pulsed brighter with these words. Maybe this was the key to everything, the unyielding power to weave through darkness while remaining anchored in light. The city seemed to hush. He could sense the shadowy figures retreating with uncertainty as he held the light tightly. Together, then. He stated firmly, his resolve thickening. We'll find balance. With that, he stepped forward, embracing both aspects of his journey. The figure inclined its head, as if sensing the pact forming. Trust the truth within, it said, transforming subtly as it merged with the light that enveloped Sam. The shadows writhed in anger, twisting violently, but their cries faded as the silhouette of his fears intertwined with the golden aura. "Enough games!" Sam cried out, standing tall, anchored by the love swirling around him. "I choose strength over despair." He thrust his hands forward, channeling the ancient energy into the shadows that recoiled violently. It was like an explosion. The shadows broke apart under the pressure of his resolve, dissipating into glimmers of starlight. The city heaved, buildings trembling as if caught in a raging storm. Then, in the billows of light, something extraordinary happened. The darkness began to transform before his eyes, reshaping into beautiful fragments of memory, of joy and sacrifice, the stories of love lost and rediscovered, stitched together like the delicate fabric of existence itself. Sam, a familiar voice floated through the air like a symphony. His parents materialized within the light, their faces radiant, no longer shrouded in fear. "You've done it. Mom. Dad!" he shouted, tears streaming down his face. They enveloped him in their embrace, warmth flooding his heart. "I'm proud of you," his father murmured, and the shadows faded away completely, leaving nothing but soft light around them. "I found the truth." Sam gasped, his fingers tightening around the glowing tome, knowing it was more than just knowledge, it was about understanding the balance of love and fear. His parents smiled, a beacon of unwavering support. "Yes, Sam, and your journey isn't over," his mother gently reminded him. "Life will always present choices. You have the strength to embrace them," his father added. Sam nodded, the realization solidifying within him. "Together," he promised, holding the golden tome with fierce determination, "we can face whatever comes next." As the shadows slowly receded, leaving behind a lush landscape soaked in starlight, Sam felt more alive than ever. His heart raced with the possibilities that lay ahead. No more running. No more denying the depths of his truth. Together, they walked onward toward the horizon, ready to weave new stories, and to embrace light and shadow alike. In that moment of clarity, Sam chose the journey that awaited him, a quiet promise echoing through the fabric of reality. This was not just the end, it was his beginning, and now, as this epic comes to a close, you need to take a moment to show your support. Subscribe immediately so you don't miss the next exclusive stories that are just around the corner. Smash that like button now to help boost the algorithm and ensure these stories reach those who need them. Flood the comments section with your reactions and theories about this conclusion. What do you think will happen next? And don't wait even one more second to share this video with at least 5 friends who need to experience this amazing journey. Let us keep the adventures going together.